Welcome to my YouTube channel where I take you through the length and breadth of research methodology, making it very easy, including to a novice. Even if you've not heard anything about research methodology, just sit back and listen and jot down, take a pen and paper, you will pick everything I tell you, and you will love research. Today, I'm going to teach you from what the components or the stages of research methodology are. What are the components? And it's going to be in two parts. The first part, I'm going to tell you from the identification of a problem to the interpretation of the result or the findings. That is part one. Part two will be from the summary of your research down to appendix in your work. That is part two. So it is because of time, which YouTube has permitted, that I'm making this division. So what do we have today? The objectives of this study is to understand the components or the stages of research methodology. Research methodology has stages. It has components. So we need to follow them all through. You need to understand them. Otherwise, it will just be like any other course. This is a very special course, So it is. So for you to understand research methodology, the components, their theory, you need to know the stages are being formed on logic and rationale. It is based on logicality and rationality from the start to the finish. Nothing in research methodology is just formed just for the fun of it. No, it has reason and value even attached to it. So the first point is for us to know that identification of a problem is the beginning of research methodology. That's the first component. That's the first stage. You need to identify a problem. Stage one, identify a problem. Stage two, you need to transmute that identified problem to a researchable problem. That means that you give the identified problem a researchable topic. You give it a topic, you give it a name. What is the name? That topic you give to it is called research problem. First, you've identified the problem. Second, you have to give it a topic. So when you give it a topic, the next thing is to conceptualize it. Conceptualize the research topic within a framework. You just have to do that. If you don't understand what I mean, this means that you need to create variables in a framework. You need to create variables in a framework. It is these variables you create are grouped into 2 or 4. It can be 2 or it can be 4. Once it is 2, you make the third one, then you're making the fourth one. If you make the first one, you're making the second one. If you make the third one, you're making the fourth one. So what are they? The independent variable. If there's an independent variable, then there should be dependent variable. Then the next, if there is a moderating variable, then there should be a suppressor variable. The reason is you cannot tell me to do. I say you're advising a company. You can't tell a company what to do. Once you tell them what to do, you are equally telling them what not to do. Do's and don'ts. If you are giving them the advantages, you are also telling them the disadvantages. So that is the function of moderating variable and suppressive variable. While the suppressive variable tends to bring the relationship of the dependent and independent variables together, the suppressive variable does the reverse. It tends to disassociate. It discourages the union between the dependent and the independent variable. So if you are bringing in a moderating variable, then you bring in a suppressive variable. If you don't bring either of them, fine. Just limit your work to dependent and independent variable. This is what I mean by conceptualization of your research problem. By my left, extreme left here, I have proficient as my independent variable. These are the dimensions below them. Next to it is the moderating variable. These are the measures of the moderating variable. Next to it is the dependent variable. These are the measures of the dependent variable. Then on the extreme right, at the extreme right, you have the suppressor variable. These are the, you can see the link are just external link, how the independent variable impacts on the dependent variable. And then there's a close tie too between the dependent variable and the suppressor variable. That is just how it works. So after conceptualizing your work, you now operationalize your conceptualized problem within the framework. Now, operationalization of your conceptual work means, or your conceptual problem, means that you create a relationship among the dimensions and dimensions by linking them up. You link them up. This is what I mean. You can see this operational framework. There's link between the measures and the dimensions, each linking each other. This is the operational framework, the relationship among the variables. If you go back to the conceptual framework, there's no link in between. It's just the external link that exists. But that of the operational framework, you see the link in between. So this is the operational framework. After doing that, the next stage is to extrapolate the hypothesis from the operationalized research problem. You create the hypothesis from it. It's very easy you can see that from the operational framework, you can see that you could say hypothesis that there is no relationship between the current distribution plan and cost effective or cost efficiency, or there is no relationship between employee distribution and resource optimization, and so on. So you create the hypothesis. The hypothesis is the default state of either the conclusion which you drew from the responses of the research respondents or from the operational framework itself, this operational framework. So that is how you go about it. So you do it, and what I mean by extrapolation of the hypothesis is that you form the research hypothesis from each of those links or the relationship between the dimensions and the measures. As I told you, even the relationship between the moderating variable and that of and the relationship between the moderating effect of the moderating effect in the relationship between the dependent and independent variable. You just need to also factor that in your hypothesis. And then the suppressor effect of the suppressor variable in the relationship between the independent and dependent variable should be factored in your hypothesis. So you extrapolate the hypothesis. Next, please do not forget that the operationalized pattern springs from the conclusion drawn from the average opinions of the research respondent, which is referred to as the univariant analysis. I told you that there are two ways of extrapolating the research hypothesis. One is the conclusion, which you drew from the responses of the research respondents. Those that said, yes, I agree, strongly disagree, and all that, you do the data cleaning, you sort them out, and then you carry out the univariate analysis by way of frequency table. And you now conclude, oh, from what I have seen in the frequency table, I think this has relationship with this. This does not have relationship with this. That is another way of getting a hypothesis. Or you get it from the operational framework. Now, after doing that, you subject this hypothesis to a scientific simple or multiple regression analysis. You can refer that as the bivariant analysis. The univariate analysis is the analysis of knowing what the respondents have said concerning the subject. You know, you pose some questions to them by way of questionnaire, they answer them. Those answers, the data cleaning and all the analysis you do that are called univariant analysis. Now you draw your hypothesis, therefore, and then you subject your hypothesis to a scientific analysis called either simple regression analysis or multiple regression analysis. Why do you do that? This is actually, you do that because you are not sure whether those answers that were given by the respondents were actually by their own evolution, or did they really understand the questions? Did they just tick the answers by error? Yes, I agree. Yo, I disagree. Strongly agree, strongly disagree. You know, the simple regression analysis is linking each of the independent variable to each of the dependent variable. Don't forget. While the multiple regression is linking each of the dependent variable to two or more independent variables. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's go back to this table here, this figure. You can see the operational framework here. If each of these, as it were here now, it is a simple regression because each of the dimensions are linked to each of the measures, simple regression. But if each of these measures here, the measures are under the dependent variable, each of them are linked to two or more dimensions at the same time, know that it is a multiple regression. And you carry out a multiple regression if only a decision has to be taken on which of these dimensions to pick by the management. In this very instance now, we have the 4 types of profit sharing methods. Which of them is best for the company? Then you use multiple regression analysis. Each of these dimensions, you link each of these measures to all of the dimensions at the same time, each to all of them. So from the reading or from the outcome, then you take your decision to say that, oh, I think current distribution is better. Oh, no, employee distribution is better, is best. Deferred distribution is best. Registered pension plan is best. So that is how this multiple regression is being carried out. And that is the reason why it's being carried out. Now, I've already given you the reason why we subject this hypothesis to regression analysis. Why? Because we are not sure that the answers of the respondents were given in error or not. Maybe they did not understand the questions. Maybe they were doing that in Durex. So you need to subject that conclusion, the univariant analysis, the conclusion of the univariant analysis, to subject it to an hypothesis testing through simple or multiple regression. In this part, this is the final point we're going to look at in this part 1 of the stages or the components of search methodology. You know, it's to interpret the results or the findings of the analysis. So there are different ways of interpreting results or findings. There are different ways. The most appropriate way of interpreting the result, however, is to include the various indices used in the analysis from 3 tables, from the summary table, ANOVA table, and coefficient table. These 3 tables form the information indicators. Information indicator is the place, the nucleus table where your conclusion can be drawn. Every other table that is the output are called index formation. They may not be necessary. Like the correlation table may not be necessary in this when you're carrying out this analysis. regression analysis. Correlation table is a pre-analysis test. It is a test that is carried out before you carry out a regression analysis correlation test. So it is called assumption test. So I want to say thank you for listening. I want to come to a conclusion at this level for the part one of the components and the stages of research methodology. I am Dr. Abel Simeon. I am the Managing Director of Amom Consulting Limited. I am also a Director of Research Fellow at the Corporate Institute of Strategic Research. And then I'm also the Director of Strategic Planning and Research at the Institute of Professional Industrialist and Management Development. If you have any question to ask, anything that has to do with research methodology, you just please let me know. You can just take me through. You can just, if you have any question, you can just send it to what you're seeing on the slide right now. You can send it to my WhatsApp line +1 505 232 46646. I repeat, +1 505 2324 6646, or any of these email addresses. I will see them and attend to you. Thank you very much. Let's quickly go to part two of this very topic, the stages and the components of research methodology. See you in the next video. Thank you so very much.